Oh my word. So I don't know if you know, but our center has been undergoing a few changes. We've now been renamed to the for Innovative Educational Technology. So we now incorporate some people from the former ETU Educational Technology Unit in Fundani. So that's Eunice and Daniela, and Clive and Gavin and people like that. And so our center now is more or less the custodian of the learning management system Blackboard in the university, but also I suppose we are also the kind of foremost driver of educational technology in the university. So as part of the KITS directorate, our unit is more or less responsible for implementing the LMS, but then also trying to get lecturers on board with various kinds of technologies in terms of their courses and assessments and whatnot. And so further to our instructional designers like Antoinette and Jody, who you know, we now also have new people like Sonwabo and Sunazo who will work more closely with lecturers in implementing a lot of the things. And then we also have... Yes, for now, yeah. Currently, actually, Saki is looking at the new offices that they are building in Belleville. For him, he's going to sit there. And Eunice is also based there. Yeah. And so Eunice and Daniela help us with more the stuff like the academic projects that we do, and also research, institutional research we do around using and adopting technology for education. So our center is now actually, we were speaking about it this morning, it's quite now nicely positioned in this field. A lot of the universities around the country are still actually struggling with getting this thing up and running. At DUT they run, for example, 3 different learning management systems, and it's all over the place, and there's no coordinating structure. And so one of the things that we did was we moved Blackboard to the cloud, which I'm not sure if you know, but it's no longer hosted within our institution. So it's now hosted externally by Blackboard themselves on their servers, and they manage that hosting service for us. And that makes the reliability and stability a bit better. Of course, we still need internet to access that. So if our internal network is down, then we're going to have a bit of an issue.
People complain a lot. And
yeah.
I think a lot of people complain. There's more those who, they've tried once or twice.
Yeah.
And then they stop.
Yeah.
But I think once you've actually used it, it gets stuck now and then it gets stuck when you try another time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. There's been a lot of pushback against the system, I suppose, for various reasons, be it the system itself or technical aspects. But whatever the case, I think I've started here about 2009 with my first experience with CPUT, and I must say, even for myself, it has improved significantly, the actual product. And now also the way it's managed within the institution. So I think our role will be to really get lecturers on board with it, because it does, especially from an analytics point of view, it will help to have a centralized learning space where we can say, what are students doing, how are they doing it, how are they performing, which of the students are at risk, how do we help them, and so on. So that's and so part of moving to Blackboard to the cloud is we've also got the new product called Analytics for Learn, which we're currently implementing as we speak. Now that system is more or less up and running, but we are only kind of formally launching it next year. Now we're just piloting it within the institution, validating data and stuff like that. But I will tell you.
So that's not this.
That's what's part of this, but more or less, okay. Just for if you don't know me, I'm relatively new to the center. I'm Izak. I'm what's called an educational technologist.
Okay.
So my role, I suppose, is to, from a strategic and a research point of view, also give some guidance to the institution as to where they need to go with technology for education.
Right. Okay.
So I've been here for about a year and a half now, I think. Okay, so basically this meeting or seminar was just to give an overview of some of the key aspects of analytics. As you can see there, the uses, the adoption, the risks, and then a little bit about the product that we then have at CPUT, or the service that we have at CPUT. And essentially, I like that definition. Essentially, analytics is really geared towards using data effectively to make decisions. You know, it taps into big data, big complex data, and tries to make sense of that so that we can make better decisions at a very ground level for our students. So that's more or less the high level definition, but ultimately it's about making sense of data to help us perform better. So in an academic perspective or in a university perspective, the analytics principle can really help us to understand, let's say if we look at students, what has happened with the student performance in the past, and if our analytic system is intelligent enough, it can also point us into the direction of knowing why it happened and how it happened. And also what is happening now, and that's called real-time analytics. And so that we are, you know, no longer 3 years behind, because by the time you get audited data from D8 basically, or from EMIS, that data is 3 years old, and so analytics helps us to make real-time decisions in the present. So we can see my student is struggling now. What can I do to help them? And also we are moving towards predictive analytics. So with Blackboard, we are in talks to actually be a part of developing their predictive analytics system. So not being the guinea pig, but actually being an active part in rolling out or testing that system, customizing that system, and so on, so that we will in future be able to say it is likely that student will fail because of these factors, and so what can we do to assist there? We must just distinguish, I suppose, between learning analytics and academic analytics. So for you as a lecturer, for example, you will have access to what is called course level analytics, and that will tell you about your specific course, how students are performing in the course, you know, whether or not they're socializing, using some of the tools available in the course, and so on. And then that can, from a departmental level, the HOD can then compare courses against one another and also make decisions regarding that. And that's what our lecturers will have access to in the CPUT environment. Is all of them will now already, you can already see, but it's different to the normal course report. There's now, if you click on the evaluation on the left, there's now a menu called Course Analytics, and you can click on that and you can query, you can run 4 different reports there. And that gives you a really cool sort of visual insight into what's happening. So we're not, because you know, the thing is what's happening with analytics is we still need to validate the data, and so some of the data is not yet as everything's not working as it's supposed to. So you can already have a look yourself and then play around with it, but actually when it comes to the real use of it, we're going to start having roadshows as soon as we're ready with the whole system. So we'll come to your faculty and, you know, we'll invite everyone and we'll sit down and we'll have a hands-on kind of workshop thing. And Sonwabo and Antoinette and them will play a role in facilitating that. And then also from a university point of view, the goal here is there's some universities around the world who's using this effectively is to try and make better decisions in terms of the students that they allow to the university, to be able to say if the student is actually a high risk or if the student is perhaps not studying the correct course or things like that. So that is a broader level analytics that can be compared between institutions and then also on a national basis be used to inform policy and to help decision making at a curriculum level, for example, and so on. So that's more a management analytics.
Right, but just before I go any further, I'm getting a little bit lost already. So as a lecturer, I've got information on my system, on my class list.
Yes.
And you call that academic analytics?
No, that's learner analytics. Yeah.
That's all it is also.
Yeah.
When you step up to the next level, you're looking at what? You're looking at departmental.
Yeah, it's
institutional look at everything.
Yeah. So you can break it down by course. You can break it down by faculty, by department, by student cohort, by those kinds of things.
And the predictive bits, where is that?
So we are building towards that.
That's coming.
Yeah, that's coming. And essentially what that will help us to do is to identify before something happens that it is likely to happen.
But just a second, so the at risk, we already have some kind of at risk thing in Blackboard.
That's
Yes.
retention center.
Sorry?
That's the retention
Yeah.
center.
That's the retention center.
Retention center.
Yeah.
Which
So-
we have already.
Yeah, we already have that
Yes.
and it's working.
It's
and
working, yeah. I know
Yeah.
one of the guys I'm working with in electrical.
Martin.
Yeah.
He's very active, very
Yeah.
researching it and so on.
So the retention center is more or less a very basic way of it's more or less a filter system or a flag system where it picks up if students did not log in a certain time, and if they did not click on that in a specific time, then they flag that student.
Right.
Where analytics can also look at patterns of performance and past
So
performance.
That doesn't do it, I assume it.
Yeah,
It's not complicated enough.
no, it's good in what it does, but it's only I would say a superficial system of warning you that the student is it's an early warning system as it's
That's
called.
what it was called
Yeah.
a few years ago.
Yeah.
Then they go and change it to the retention center.
Yeah.
It's the early warning system.
And so analytics is ultimately geared towards making that more of a retention center, because now what we do is we look at our students, we look at what they're doing in depth, and then we try to retain them. So that's ultimately the idea.
Okay.
Just to give you some examples, here's I think Saki actually visited Purdue University in the US. But what they do is they have something, they use analytics as an advanced retention center where they analyze student performance to tell them who are those students at risk on the system, and then intervene. So build interventions around those students as soon as they can identify that. So that's something that's university-wide, implemented university-wide, and it's something that we hope to achieve as well. So our lecturers can see, look, the student is performing poorly, let's do something about it. On the other hand, the Western Sydney University, also about 40,000 students, they have this system where they predict dropout students. And just the other day with Prof. Fourie, we were discussing in our university, we've got these killer courses that have really high dropout rates in the second year. And now for analytics can help us to predict who those students will be and why they're likely to drop out.
So it basically it collects more data, more, it can deal with more variables,
Yes.
and on that basis it can point to the...
Yes. So ultimately, that's absolutely correct. It also works. It's linked to our student information system. So it takes information on Blackboard and on the student information system, and kind of draws also relationships between demographic variables and things like that. So it has more access to data, and it's a more intelligent system. So that's essentially and the technical guys talk about machine learning and all of that. So I'm not clued up about that. The Blackboard guys were here the other day. But ultimately, it's a much more intelligent system. Yeah.
But will it be like, oh, you're coming to East?
Yeah.
No, I can keep some of my questions.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's many questions, and obviously this is also a little bit still conceptual because it's not yet launched at CPUT, but this is just more or less a benchmark of what is currently being done with analytics. So you can see there, on the one hand is to make better decisions. That's the one thing, because if we understand our population better or our clients better, we can make better decisions regarding how to serve them. We can identify students at risk, so our problem students. And analytics should be able to, if we implement it correctly, also support different ways of pedagogy, different ways of teaching and learning. So it's not necessarily if you work, you have to only work online. There's ways, I think, that we can design that can support those lecturers who are using blended approaches and so on. And of course, there's one university, it's one of the open universities that makes use of analytics for how students use the library. And based on how students use the library, it gives them recommendations on what to read, on where to look for similar information, and so on. So it's in that way, it's making use of activity data and making recommendations based on that. Similar to what Google is doing. If you browse to a website or a product, then Google picks that up and it makes recommendations for you based on those searches. And that analytics works in a similar way. Yeah, yeah. And as a ancillary or a additional use, you can tie analytics in with something like staff performance, staff development. You know, those people who use the system well may be incentivized or maybe encouraged to start using the system, whatever the case. So there's the options are there. And this is from an adoption point of view. Obviously it's going to depend on various things like, for example, whether our management is prepared to make evidence-based decisions. So we give them the evidence that these students are not performing or this course is not doing well, and whether they're prepared to take decisions based on this, obviously the investment, which is a financial investment, the system does cost money, but we have an agreement now for the next at least 3 years. We're going to, at least that's been approved. So we really have to, I suppose, sustain that investment over the next few years. The system should also be, it should not be implemented from the top down, and people should be told how to use it. That's why we're trying to involve stakeholders at this level, to keep it iterative, to keep it customizing it according to our needs. And then of course we need to consider our people here, the organization that we work in, the resources that we've got, and so on. And these are just some of the adoption factors to analytics. But we've been working for the past 2 years, I suppose, in ironing out all these various factors, and we're almost at a point where the university is ready to roll it out. Of course, there are risks. Now, those numbers don't mean anything. It was just for illustrative purposes. But of course, the risk is that you get analytics that are not telling you what you want to know, or it's not appropriate to the course. So it's almost like it's not faulty information, but it's incorrect or inappropriate for what you're looking for. So having stats necessarily doesn't help you always improve something or know something. So you have to understand the statistics and know how to read the statistics as well. So that's going to be a big risk, is to say just because a student didn't log in, for example, doesn't mean that that's an at-risk student. There might be other variables there. Technical, I mean, obviously the system needs to be maintained. Fortunately, from a technical point of view, the system is also hosted by Blackboard. So from that point of view, we have they manage our user access and all of that stuff, and we have a direct line with them with problems and so on. But that's technically, if our systems fail, then analytics fails, because if our SIS has some errors in it, then analytics will also have errors. That's just how it works. Social managerial, again, this boils down to whether or not deans, HODs, lecturers are willing to make decisions based on algorithms, based on data-informed activity, evidence-based management, basically. And that is something that we are, I think, will struggle the most with, because people have a sense of distrust for stuff like this, and that points to the next one, which is there is an ethical concern, and there's been some work done on this in South Africa by Paul Prinsloo from UNISA, who is studying the sort of ethical implications of analytics. Yeah, because from the view is sometimes that we look to what the student is doing, whereas it's more of a collecting metrics at a higher level. And so students they can be identified, but not more than currently what they give the university. So if they are a university student, they already give their academic activities to the university. So it's just a matter of now tapping into that data. And the idea is not to, as Saki said, there's some universities, they, I think it's in fact Purdue University, they go as far as student bank accounts and look at spending patterns and things like that. But I don't, I think that won't be, there won't be, there won't be much. So, so, but from that point of view, we also have to work hard to assure people that we are not going to use this as a kind of a big brother thing, like I'm looking at what you're doing and I'm tracking your every movement. It's more or less just going to look at your learning activities and trying to make interventions based on that. So that's really the goal. And so A4L stands for Analytics for Learn, which is now the Blackboard product that we currently have. And what we aim to achieve very simply is, one, to identify, in addition to what we currently have with the retention center, is to help us identify students at risk. And then to design interventions or to create interventions that can help those students to be successful and not fall out or drop out. And similarly, we also aim to identify some academic performance indicators so that we can say, okay, these are the things that we know a student would need to have or to do to be a successful student, and to also go through the whole 3 years or 4-year program. So ultimately, our throughput and success is something from an institutional point of view that we need to improve. And I know, obviously, in faculties, they have different success rates and throughput rates, but this is ultimately what we aim to identify, is how can we improve our throughput year on year. So those killer courses, how can we take a killer course and avoid the high dropout in the second year, and how can we help students to perform better. That's ultimately it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but it's good. It's the big stuff, and I know it's become very popular. I think the guy from UCT one time had a talk on their analytics or whatever and so on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. At currently, I think it's only really TUT that's in South Africa that's really
so maybe I don't know.
active in it. All the
Yeah.
other universities are looking at it,
Okay.
but I think CPUT is sort of emerging as a unexpected front runner on this field.
No.
Yeah, I think so. We are definitely Saki recently visited the SITN conference and also had a Blackboard roadshow, and the other universities are behind. And so we are actually excited about where we can go with this. Yeah.
No, just one link would be, you know, when you look at academic performance and the risk factors and stuff. At the moment, we do have access to online resources that, of course, may have bought, right?
Yeah.
There's no real MOOCs or free stuff that we automatically link people to.
Yeah.
When you actually read, like if I run a maths course, I have to get the maths textbook or get it online, then my students can access the homework things and whatever.
Yeah.
So down the line, have they thoughts about that?
Yes, I think definitely so. We would, would like to enable lecturers or course designers to really create their courses in a way that suits them, and if that involves MOOCs and all kinds of things like that, emerging technologies, we are open to that. We are now developing a course design unit within our unit. So people like Sonwabo will be active in that. So to go to you, for example, ask you what do you want? And your
ideals thing.
Yeah.
Say, well, this, whatever.
Yeah. But also he will not only look at it from a pedagogical point of view to tell you that this is actually too removed from the pedagogy, and you actually need to approach it more from an educational perspective, and design something that can really assist your students to learn and assist you to teach, I suppose. And that, but
interaction is often a problem. I think for the technical course like the sciences, the interaction between what we send them and what they can get back. By the technical limitation. Symbolism and
Yeah, and there a lot of stuff comes in about building a system or building a module that's interactive, that's sociable, that can also look at things external to the LMS, like your social networks and whatever the case. And our system is definitely open to various possibilities, but the point is mostly that analytics can only look at what it has available, what data is available. But if our lecturers work on things that are external to that, as long as they more or less link to that from within, then Blackboard can pick that up, or analytics can pick it up. And that said, the new Blackboard, which is currently in beta testing, is going to be much more, user-friendly, adaptive, much more in line with what we see currently with social media and emerging technologies.
What does the lecturers do a lot of, and I have existed because my phone will never stop, and given that WhatsApp is now with Facebook and there's a lot of issues that's opening up there, is they tend to put their students on WhatsApp because it's so much easier, and then I think, but actually the whole point of our learning management system is that that's where people must
Yeah.
Now when I put the notice up and it says send an email of this announcement, tick the box and send it, I still have half the students who don't get it because they don't look at their
student
CPUT
email account.
They look at WhatsApp or they've got their own.
Yeah.
So
You know,
down the line, that's another issue. How do you reach your students if they don't use the system?
That's definitely one of the big concerns. One of the problems is that students have to use their student email accounts, and that's for various reasons, and for good reasons as well. That's official.
And that's also allows them to access, isn't it?
Yeah, because actually
Anybody can get in.
and you actually can't, that all universities provide their students with email accounts, and if the student changes his account in one place, then it needs to reflect everywhere. So that's been a difficulty, I suppose, and that's why the decision is there.
Yeah, because the thing is, sorry to
No.
the WhatsApp is free.
Yeah.
Up to now it's been free.
Mm.
So that's the easiest thing.
Mm.
Whereas if you, unless you're on campus, you need internet, you know.
Yeah.
And
No.
it's a drawback because
Yeah.
you can't communicate with your students as easily as
Mm.
you'd like.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a thing, you know, but WhatsApp still uses bandwidth, data.
Yeah.
And so if a
that's the
student,
thing,
and if most phones who can support WhatsApp can probably support an application like Outlook. And so CPUT email is very easily accessible. And so, you know, there's obviously there's different ways of communicating. I know with, you know, I have a group of master students as well, and they don't read, especially them, because they're not here at the campus any day of the week, so they don't ever check their student accounts. So contacting them is actually quite a challenge. And in that case, the lecturers should be able to design something that can work. But
I think that's part of also, I'm almost wondering whether there is a way in which they get an alert.
And you know that new stuff that I activated beginning of this week?
yeah,
The Spaces area and the Messages tool, the social learning tools in Blackboard.
yeah,
They must actually more look towards using that
yeah.
to communicate with the students.
So where will it go?
See, if the student, for example, on their phone or whatever, I tried it out
Facebook
there as
or
well, if they go even on their phone, as you said, the phone can do WhatsApp,
Yeah.
it must be able to go onto the internet.
Yeah,
And then you
so-
get to the Blackboard after you've logged in
Yeah.
to
But can you
Blackboard.
see all that steps?
There's a
Whereas
little-
I just open the message there.
There's a little notice there on top,
Yeah.
and that's where they can also have Facebook's playlist. And they
Yeah.
don't have Facebook, but it's called Spaces on Blackboard.
Yeah.
So we must actually get to the shift where we just involve our students more to use the social media
They
that's
use it anyway.
available
They're
already.
also on Facebook, right?
Does
So
it-
Facebook.
But that's
also
what
on
I'm
Facebook.
saying, we must just kind of get them. I've got a lecturer now that wants to rather use the social tools in Blackboard with his students than Facebooking with them anymore, because he says he's already building his courses in Blackboard.
Yeah.
But now if you use social learning tools, it's again going out of Blackboard to go to Facebook. So he now actually wants to put that
It's trying to
environment
contain it within
into
one
Blackboard.
environment.
It's important now. No, I really am
Yeah.
just into
Mm.
the announcements because if I put something on there and it's about a tutorial, then people say, no, but they never saw it. But I said, well, did you check your email? You know what I mean? It's a very simple thing. And my data is in Blackboard
Yeah.
because that's where I'm working.
Exactly.
And so I'll need them to get access to it.
You know-
And this is one of the reasons why people, they don't, you know, they're outside of Blackboard because of that communication.
Remember Lovemore created that CPUT app?
Yeah.
But that CPUT app, somewhere in this year, like a lot of students, they came to me last year and they say, you know, they use the CPUT app to access their announcements, the notices, because then it comes like a little message on their phones.
Yeah.
But then somewhere in this year, a lot of students experience problems with the mobile app. Like me, I can't get into it.
Yeah, I
put
can't
in my
use it.
I've got my staff number one now for, I'm working here 14 years. I had that same number when I was already,
A student.
tutor, part-time lecturer, whatever. So I've got that, that's my staff number. But if I log in with my details on that mobile app, currently it just tells me it's
You-
not your staff number.
Yeah, it's the same with me.
Yeah, so somewhere in this year something went wrong, because I know that mobile app, if you send announcements in Blackboard, they got a notice.
That's all I need.
But
That's all you need.
a lot of students this year can't get into the mobile app.
And also,
so
who's responsible for that app? Isn't it yourself also?
No, it's
No,
not
Lovemore.
us. Yeah, it's not us. It's the web office. Yeah, yeah.
Or you need to talk to them?
Yeah, no, we are in conversations with them. Yeah, that's a technical thing because we are all, you know, working on different areas of technology, and we all almost depend on one another to work effectively. The other problem with WhatsApp is that information also sits outside, and it also infringes on personal privacy. So I don't want students to email to send me messages. Yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning, which you know I so you also have to have that thing in mind. The one thing I despise is a WhatsApp group. It's a terrible thing because you have no control. Yeah.
It's like you missed
Yeah.
something.
And so that's another thing. So all of these things have their drawbacks. I think what we are in a position to do is we have we have the institutional system, we have resources available. We should just, and that's our center will play a big role in that, is to drive people more towards, well, firstly informing them what is available, because I don't think
Yeah.
that they know what are the different tools that are available to them. Already Blackboard can meet a lot of their needs. It's just a matter of getting that stigma of Blackboard out of the, getting that.
Well, in my case, I put stuff on there that they have to go do. If they
Yeah.
don't do, they won't get a mark. So
Yeah.
I forced it.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
there's still people that don't
Yeah, there's
get there,
and especially now in this, our center's gonna talk about it tomorrow. But we expect that probably this term will be disrupted once more.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, last year we saw a big spike in lecturers and students that use the system because they are forced to. And that's a thing. And if everything is in one place, the Facebook becomes a place where people moan and groan, but the the Blackboard becomes a place where all the learning activities are, and the assignments and the tests and the socializing and whatnot. So, yeah.
No, good, thanks.
Okay.
That's great.
No, it's been a pleasure. Antoinette will just quickly show you
The
the
video clip
video.
on our detention center,
Oh, yes, please, show me.
which we say is actually more an early warning system to see patterns of my student in my physical subject, to see if the
Yeah.
student might be falling behind. Let's just get out of the presentation. Let's go and see what it's all about.
So what would we
The Retention Center is an instructor-only tool that enables you to give focused attention to students who need it. It replaces the early warning system. This tutorial shows you how to utilize the Retention Center information to monitor student engagement. You will view and modify rules that trigger alerts and see how to create new rules. The Retention Center does not require setup, so you can use it right away. You can access it in My Blackboard snapshot view of student performance in all of your courses. Click through to a course's.
You see there? If you
Yeah.
click there, you're going to get a little menu. That's also the same place where you will find the spaces, that messaging, all of that.
Alright.
So when you click there, you will see there's this up and down arrow.
I missed it then.
Did you click there?
No, I'm not there yet, but it's fine.
Yeah, so you will,
see-
if you click there,
Yeah,
you will see that little up and down arrow that you see there on the left side.
yes.
It will be a little menu that pops up here. She
Oh,
did it
right,
in the
okay,
video
okay.
clip. She didn't show the menu.
Okay.
So after you've clicked on that up and down arrows, it takes you to this view where you see all of your subjects, and then if you click on any of the subjects, you will see a smiley face if all of your students are doing fine, or you will see the following screen that you will see. It shows you certain students are at risk because they missed deadlines, some of them didn't log in the last 5 days, or they've got poor grades, that kind of stuff.
So I've had people go in with my.
With your
So now they might come to see you can show me. I make fun, if I forget and I think, well, so this, you mind showing me where that was the first step?
there,
That one, yeah. Alright.
and you see there's an up and down arrow.
Yes.
Click on that one, and it will take you to your retention
So
center.
I'll put my courses. They're on. This one, retention sessions. Okay, well done. So there's all my courses there.
And now if you click on any one of those,
Can I click on
you
the-
can, for some of them you will see a smiley face saying that everybody is doing fine, but if you had deadlines and so on,
Yeah.
then you might see the following bar that's on the screen.
Oh, right, yeah. It's weird, I have this one, I've never actually used it. No, I haven't. I know, what's it called in Martin, the probably has done it.
Yeah.
All your students are doing great.
So see, that's the one way of,
That's terrible.
that's one way
Yeah,
to act.
that's now, it's. This is, what is this one? Oh, that was the last time that I had some stuff like this. Oh, sorry, that kind of,
Okay, so that's the one place she shows you on the video clip. She's also going to show you on the video clip where you will find it in each subject. The same place
Right.
Izak said that there's an evaluation link where you will find the course analytics. Now at that same place where you will find the course analytics, you will see the course reports and this retention center. All of these tracking, reporting tools is available underneath the evaluation section in your specific subject. Let's see, what is she saying? Let's move a bit back. Where were we?
You can access it in My Blackboard snapshot view of student performance in all of your courses. Click through to a course's main retention center page for more details. You can also access a course's retention center on the control panel in the evaluation section. Let's break down the information on the main page. The three main areas are:
So that, on the left, where do I find that? That's going all the way back to content and...
Yeah, you're in, this is now inside the specific subject. And then on your control panel, you will see certain headings. And you will see there's one for evaluation. Now, in our case at this moment, if you open up your Blackboard course, your first link that you're going to see is the course analytics.
Yes.
What would I say?
Course management.
And then you'll see course reports, performance dashboard, and you will see retention center. All of your evaluation tools will be listed there.
Yeah.
Are you now in one of your specific subjects?
Hang on, yeah, no, I'm in there because that's the one that I'm doing at the moment. So, if I do it like this, then I will remember what...
You see, the process that the lecturers will normally follow is directly inside your specific subject. You will go into your specific subject and you want to check the at-risk status of your students at that specific moment. So then you will go this route, where you will go with your control panel, you will go to evaluation, and you will click on your retention center. Oh, that happens if you normally click there in between, the pane disappears. Did you get it back?
Alright, now we're back.
You will go to evaluation and retention center.
Yeah, it was because I couldn't get down here. Alright, we're going to the evaluation,
Yeah, and then retention center.
and retention. Okay.
And do you see anything there?
I should. I haven't really done any test yet. I see retention center on the left, but I haven't got any stuff yet. Does that mean that I haven't...
No, just give it time.
Oh, I see. Because I haven't given them any tests yet, so there shouldn't be anything.
There might be, if they haven't accessed the subject regularly, there's supposed to be some red dots.
I've asked them to read, and I've asked for tracking. So I have students.
And the retention center is actually not linking to that tracking. That tracking that you normally put on is linked to the course reports.
To
the course reports.
Yeah, and what is this thing?
The retention center automatically just works. It's linked to the different rules are linked to different activities that's going to take place. Yeah, this is so the one alert that you will see is if you've got students on there and you do have students accessing the course and you've got content and stuff available, you see that access alert. The default rule is if a student didn't access the course in the last 5 days, it's going to have little red dots.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're all naughty because they should have. I've got 82 that hasn't.
Yeah. And then you'll see there's an activity alert. Now how that one works is it compares one student's activity with the rest of the class. So if there's students that at least like 3 times a week access the system, but there's one student that only accesses it like once in few weeks, he's going to be at risk based on his activity compared to the activity of the rest of the class in the course.
Okay, so some have and some haven't.
Yeah, and then the missed deadlines, that one speaks for itself. With that one, if you start making online assignments and stuff available, discussions, any activity with a due date linked to it. As soon as the students miss that, deadline, it's going to pick it up. Then the only rule that is actually intervention needed from you is the grades alert. The default that's in here doesn't really measure anything, so that's why it normally will show that nobody is at risk based on their grades. But then you will either have your online tests, so the marks are automatically generated onto the system, or it might have been activities that took place outside of the system, and then with an Excel sheet you just upload that marks into Blackboard. And then you can go and set up a grade rule, and you can tell the system, show me all of my students who got, let's say, 50% or less for the test.
So, the upload of the marks, you've lost me the second there, and I think I might have known that before, but you know, since we are here. If I have a set of marks, I want to put it into the grade 10.
Yeah.
Then what do I do?
It will be in Excel. You will make certain changes to the.
Like that. Come on, we're going to make this, we're using our course here today.
Yeah.
Again, we scored it in high score.
You
Alright,
will.
so
You will.
again, I've got an Excel sheet. Yes, or
Yeah,
no?
you will have your master mark sheet in Excel. Please, you must have a copy.
Wil jy nie sommer net dit ook maak op jou?
Me and Izak actually experienced earlier this year, there was actually a lecturer who decided not to have any marks in a mark sheet on Excel.
Yeah.
And then something went wrong on his side and he searched for his marks with us. And when we asked him, but don't you have a master copy of your marks, you know, an
Yeah.
Excel sheet for mathematics one? He
Yeah.
said no.
So what if I take this now, this sheet, and I move it into Blackboard, what are you saying, that I don't have a copy of it?
No,
Oh.
I'm just saying you must always have a copy of your marks somewhere on your PC.
You can upload that sheet to Blackboard, but don't delete the sheet on your
Yeah,
Oh,
keep
I'm with you,
keep
I'm
a
with you.
copy of it on your
Okay,
PC
no, no,
because
I'm with
this guy didn't keep a copy.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yeah. So you will basically have your normal Excel worksheet, ne?
Yes,
Your
yeah.
Excel sheet with your students' names,
Got
their
it, yeah,
student
I've got one
numbers,
right
all
here.
of that,
Mm.
and then you will have all of the assessment columns.
Yes, yeah.
So now on that specific file, you just make some changes.
Alright,
You'll see, for example, your column will still say student number, ne?
yeah.
The system doesn't understand student number, so that
Oh.
column you change to username. One
So
word,
there's
capital
there's
U.
a S name. There's a name for the student, and
Mhm.
the next column has S number.
S number, I guess, is student number. Is that your mass list
Yeah.
with such funny little
That's the
headings?
list here. So I would change that.
Yeah, you will change that S number to username.
Because username is for the student numbers.
Yeah, and that's what Blackboard understands.
Oh, right.
The word
okay.
username. So you will change it to
Alright.
username with a capital U.
Yeah.
And you know, the system actually talks about first name and last name. So even that S name is not going to make sense, but Blackboard doesn't need that. So you can actually delete those columns.
Right.
Blackboard only needs the username column.
Right.
And then obviously the rest of the columns is your assessment columns.
Yeah.
Ne?
Yeah.
And then that file you will now say save as CSV.
Right.
And you see there's about 4 different kinds of CSV files.
Now, do we want to save the file as values only? You don't want to save it with the formulas and everything.
No, see, if you normally save it as a CSV, that stuff disappears in any case because the CSV doesn't handle that kind of
Alright,
formatting.
okay.
So you will just say save as CSV and make sure you choose the one that says in brackets, comma, delimited. Because there's a
Yeah,
Macintosh one as well and a DOS one, I think.
Save as, I'm going to put on desktop, this for now. And not an Excel worksheet, but CSV, comma, delimited.
That one, yeah. Let me see,
Alright.
I've got a lot of examples of those on this machine.
The cost details info on top.
That
Yes.
must also be removed. I now realize he's using a mass list.
Yeah, I've taken out, you know what I've got? I've only got the numbers and the name now.
Yeah, this is, for example, what your sheet must look like,
Yeah,
if you look there.
so, yeah, I'm with you.
So you must have a last name, first name, username, followed by the assessment columns. But your mass list, as you said, got S name. It's got a funny little name. It's
Yeah.
not last name, first
I'll
name.
make it last name.
Yeah, last name and first name, or you can actually just delete it because Blackboard doesn't care about the last name and the first name.
Alright.
Blackboard only wants that column, the
Yeah.
username column, followed by all the assessment columns.
Right. So I can delete that.
So now you my eyes, ne?
Yeah. Now it's got stuff like program, mark, and
They're
all
on,
that,
on the,
take all that
at the
out.
top, yeah. Everything
You
must be
just
taken
want-
out.
Just want the
Only
results.
want this, yeah.
Just the results. The username.
Yeah. And the assessment columns with
And
all the marks in.
That's it. Only got
Mhm.
one mark for that. And it doesn't matter what I call it. That doesn't matter.
No.
Yeah, all right. So I've got something here.
So you said file save as, and you now saved it as a CSV.
Let's say
And you say CSV will also always ask a lot of questions. Don't worry about it. Just say yes, close, and on the next little screen, don't save because we don't want to save it again.
so I must close this.
Yeah.
This Excel thing.
Mhm.
We're gonna call it up. analytics?
I don't know what you called it.
I'm asking my companion here.
His pair of eyes.
We call them analytics on our
Okay.
desktop. Perfect.
No, that's on the laptop.
This one? Oh. I'm gonna put this. Like so? No? This one is on the desktop. You see it is there. Alright, okay. Now we can close it. Okay.
Okay, now you can go to your grade center.
Yes, sir. Huh? Alright, this one we're just gonna close. Now we're back, and we're going into the grade center.
Mm-hmm.
And in the grade center, we're going to delete more.
Full grade center.
Going to the full grade center.
Mm-hmm. Then in the right top corner you will see something that says work offline.
In the full grade center. Right. So now we're here. We're here. I've seen this before, and I've worked with these things. And all my names are there. All my student names.
Okay, great. So now you will go in the right top corner, you will see work offline.
Yeah.
If you click on it, you've got an upload or a download option.
Yeah.
And you will use the upload option.
Right. So we upload,
Mm-hmm.
and then we go look for our profile.
You browse for your file.
Browse my computer. And here we go. Yeah. I'm reminded again.
Nice. So
Okay,
you've
the
attached your
grade,
little file and you say the limited type is comma.
Right, so upload it.
And what does your next little
It
screen
says
tell you?
auto.
Just change that to comma.
Okay, delimited comma.
Yeah, and then you say submit and let's see if the thing pulls it through. Or
Pull it in.
you're supposed to now see a
Error
screen.
file. The file is not in a supported format. Original download because you have uploaded successfully.
Now what was wrong with your file? If you
Error
come and
file is
see.
not in a supported format. Lecturer didn't give us the right information.
Check your file. Okay. You spelled username as user Baimer.
But
There's a
don't
scanning error and
but
in
it's-
capital
it's-
U.
it's,
So
uh,
Blackboard is trying to search for the word username and the username is not in the file, so
Okay. Well, we were just testing you. We were seeing if you would do it.
there you go, so now save it.
All right. No, that's fine. We don't have to do that again.
That's right.
Do we have it?
Oh.
That's right? Yeah.
That's fine.
All right. No, that's fine. I remember it from before. So that's good. So,
So now you can go to back to Blackboard.
okay.
Okay.
Can I do the same?
Hmm?
Okay, let's just do that again.
There you go. So now on the next page it shows you that it's picking up the T1, T2, T3 and T4 is new columns.
Okay.
You must appear if you scroll there, you can see that it actually shows. Just scroll with your mouse, you can see
Oh,
the rest.
sorry.
The data preview is a bit long. You see that
Oh, there
shows you
you
it's going to be added as columns and that's what you want, so you click on submit. Just something very important that you now need to remember is, yeah, because you now pulled, I saw you pulled through your T1, T2, T3 and T4, no?
Yeah.
As soon as the columns gets created in Blackboard, Blackboard creates a unique column ID for each of those columns.
Alright.
So if you now in future want to add the marks, for example, for T2, because I saw you
Yeah.
only had a mark here and there for T2.
Yeah.
What you will have to do then is you first need to download this list from Blackboard into Excel. It will take with the little number that's provided to the T2 column. And then your T2 marks you fill in on that sheet. And that sheet you use to put the marks back into Blackboard. then it's just going to update the information in this T2
Excellent.
column.
Okay, so,
It's
so
not
this
going,
is now
yeah,
this is now my Excel sheet that I move backwards and
Yeah.
forwards.
because if you now go and take that previous Excel sheet, put your marks into T2 and you upload it in, you're going to end up with 2 T2 columns. Yeah, so after it's in here, you, as you say, you move it back and forth with this specific file that you've pulled in. So yeah,
But
now,
but now there's
Mhm.
only one additional issue that I want to
Mhm.
raise. With maths, you get a lot of changes. You get people coming late when they change it, or you get people who, like I, because I teach part-time, I get people who register, they don't register properly. So they register full-time.
yeah,
So somewhere down the line of the course, like a month before the course is over, they tell you, actually no, or you discover, where the hell are these people? No, so then you correct it at the office, the faculty office, and then they put them all back in. So now I've got a new spreadsheet, and I've got this stuff in Blackboard already.
see what Blackboard
How
does
do
is
I
when
get rid of this and then start again?
Blackboard is linked to the ITS system. So if the lecturers if the faculty office do actually make all of the changes immediately on the system,
Yeah.
every day at 12 o'clock our snapshot runs that updates the students' registration details. So it will automatically move your student between the full-time code and the part-time code.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, no, actually that's what I was doing.
Okay.
So that's great. That's
Okay,
lovely.
so the last little thing about that marks that you've got in it, you see that my marks, for example, that I'm displaying here has a decimal number, but your
Mhm.
marks that you've just imported does not.
Yeah.
The reason for that is when you import your marks into Blackboard, it sees it as a text field.
Yeah, right.
So you just need to tell the system, listen here, this is actually marks, and we might want to use this marks in a weighted column or whatever. So I'm just going to show you how you can edit that. So go to your T1 column, and
Okay.
at the column heading of T1, if you click on that little drop down arrow,
Yeah.
you see there's an edit column information option.
Right.
So if you click on that edit column
Yeah.
information, it's going to give you a new little window,
Yeah.
and where you see primary display, it currently says text.
Okay, so it's got column name, grade center,
Just,
prime display text,
yeah, see,
And
now
then-
change that text to score,
score.
and then, but that was now a percentage that you pulled in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can actually change your primary display to percentage.
Okay, yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
that-
at
that'll always be-
Points possible, you will make it 100.
Yeah, right.
And then you can decide if you want to show the students the statistics, then they will be
Right.
able to compare themselves with the rest of the class.
That's where we're going.
Yeah, that's the last one.
From statistics. Yeah, they can do it. That's nice.
And
Nice
then
of it.
you submit. And then you see now there's decimal places. You do the same with the other columns as well.
Yeah.
So now it will be possible for you, for example, to go and set up a grade rule and ask the system, show me all my students who got 50% or less for my test. And all the students then that meets that criteria will have a red little dot in that retention center that you just saw. So can we go back to the video clip quickly?
Okay.
Because
That's quite
we
nice.
now did the uploading of the
Yeah.
marks and all of that. So where did this lady stop? I've got no idea. Let's backtrack a bit. Hello?
Let's break down the information on the main page. The three main areas are students at risk, specific people or items you are monitoring, and your course activity. The bar at the top shows you the total number of students at risk. Click it to show the number of students in each category. The category shows students at risk because of missed deadlines, low grades, minimal activity, or not logging in. You can contact students in the categories easily. For example, send an email to all students who have not accessed the course recently. The risk table lists students in the 4 categories shown in the bar above the table. You can sort the information in each column from highest risk to lower risk by clicking the column header. You can monitor specific students. Just click a red dot in the row to show the drop-down list and select the star. The student's status is now called out on the right side. Click any student's name to view his risk factors, notifications sent, and notes you have written. Now if you're thinking that this is great out of the box, but you would also like to monitor high-achieving students, the Retention Center can be customized. You can select which rules are included in the risk table's 4 columns, and edit or delete rules, including the default rules. Create as many new rules as you need in the 4 categories. You set the rules criteria. And when students meet them, their name appears in the Retention Center risk table. Because this rule shows high-achieving students, we don't want it to show in the risk table. Rules not included in the risk table show on the right side of the Retention Center page. You might need to scroll down to view it. We can ask these high-achieving students to apply for the teaching assistant job. The Retention Center also shows your activity in the course. Only you can see this information. At a glance, you know which assessments and course communication areas are awaiting your attention, and when you last logged in or created content. From this area, you can also send a quick announcement or even create groups. You can review your own level of interaction and jump directly to a communication tool to further engage your students. Let's review. The Retention Center shows you students at risk, specific people or rules you are monitoring, and your course activity. It's easy to notify students who are at risk. You can customize the Retention Center by creating, deleting, and editing rules. You decide which rules are included in the risk table.
Yeah, come I see Martin, I'll say, okay Martin, I know everything now. You don't have to tell me.
So you saw now what you can
Yes.
actually do. I did give you the handout, so you can
Yeah,
actually
okay.
go and try
Yeah.
to set up a grade rule on that T1 that you've
Yeah,
pulled
I'm
in.
going to, yeah, definitely.
And then what's nice about, as you
Thank you
saw,
so much.
you can send emails to the students, specific students or all of the students
Yeah.
that want your interventions.
Yeah.
And when you send out that email, you're also going to receive a copy of that email
Yes,
in your email as well. Because now at the end of the year, you guys always need to fill in that report. You know, what did you do? What was all of your interventions to help your students
Yeah,
to pass?
exactly,
Then
yeah.
you can also have that as some of the proof. On specific dates and times, you
Yeah.
send the following emails to your
Very good.
students. You know, maybe inviting them to come and see you
Yeah.
because you see they struggle with certain topics.
No one train, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just throw it in there.
Mm.
And, anyway, but this is good, so thanks very much. And actually I will practice, and it's very topical for me at the moment because I have a night class. And
Yeah.
most of them, you know, it's a bit unfortunate, they're daytime students, and when they fail, they get chucked into the night class for the second semester.
Yeah.
And most of them can't stay late, they can't because they have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I'm using the Blackboard to keep them in pause.
Mm.
I mean, they don't access it, I'm working against myself.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to encourage them. Right,
So
I
you
have
can
to
start
run.
using that and sending them an email from the system. I've
Yeah,
got lectures that
precisely.
says when they start sending emails to the students, and you know
Yeah.
the default email says something about your this and this triggered an alert from the system. That's the wording. Some of the students actually get a fright and like
Yeah, they do. Well,
start
this is-
accessing the
I think this is
system
point.
more.
Yeah, I think this is what I'm going to do.
So
This is
try
really
doing
good.
that with them.
And I shall let you know. But thank you so much.
Thanks
It's a
a lot.
pleasure.
Thanks. I'll get the coffee next time I come.
Yeah.
That was promised me.
Can I just ask you to?
Yeah.
You can take this with you. Or we can
No,
do it
you-
now.
No, let me.
Okay. Have you got a pen there?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, taking things for next time. It
First
just
of
doesn't
all,
work.
control
Yeah.
the center, control alt
I
save.
mean,